The Divine Bitch podcast. Wake up, be aware, and live your life fully. Welcome to a new episode of the Divine Bitch podcast. Join us when we journey into awareness, explore what it truly means to wake up, expand your consciousness, and live your life with presence.
Fear and letting go of control. Anja, here we are again.
Hello, Thomas. It's good to see you.
Yes, you too. So a new episode about fear and especially letting go of control and maybe the fact that control is an idea and it's actually an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start from there. Control is an illusion.
It's a good starting point for this podcast, Thomas. Control is what people try to do when they get lost. It's what we do when fear arises and when we try to stay calm again. But we all know mentally that in life we don't really have control. I mean, something may happen tomorrow and what we know today is all gone. And that happens frequently. What also is important to know is that when you try and control things, the situation doesn't necessarily get better. Mm-hmm. Often you come stuck in a mental process of trying to avoid those feelings that arose before. So what I try and tell my clients is try and feel the fear that leads to control. Try and live the moment where you actually start to panic and say, I cannot do that anymore. Because in that moment, there is something that is so rich. It's an experience that can really bring you a lot. But still, when people ask it, when fear arises, it seems like very real, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It's like it overpowers everything. For me, fear usually arises when the emotions are so strong that the physical body is no longer able to embody them all. Mm-hmm. And it's a protective mechanism. So the nervous system has developed something really valuable to make sure that in those moments where we don't have the capacity to feel everything, that our brain takes over temporarily. Mm-hmm. And that temporarily state, for me, is very valuable because those fears will then teach you what it is that you can change. But if you get stuck in that fear, if you get stuck in that mental process, then obviously, you know, it gets bigger, it grows, and the control grows as well. But you cannot control anything, really. Mm-hmm.
I often use the metaphor for fear as trying to hold on to a piece of soap. Mm-hmm. And the more effort you put in, the more and it's not about the risk, but the more the possibility grows that the piece of soap will just jump out of your hands.
Yeah.
Or like the same thing with trying to grasp sand. Mm-hmm. It will always fall out of your hands. You'll not be able to hold on to something.
Exactly, because it's not a natural state, is it now, to control? Mm-hmm. I mean, our bodies are made in such a way that we are flexible, that we move, that we can deal with our emotions. So control is something that the brain often initiates. Mm-hmm. And what it brings is a temporary, temporary management of the current state. But the current state is constantly evolving. So what you're trying to do goes against our true nature. Mm-hmm. And I like the metaphor of the soap. Mm-hmm. I like the metaphor of the sand as well, because it's exactly that. If you put it on your hand and you are relaxed in your natural state, it will stay on there. It's only when you try and really grasp everything that you kind of lose it all. So it slips through your hands as a matter of speech. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In one of the coming episodes, we'll talk about the laws of the universe too. And one of those things, and it's not, you didn't describe it in the book as one of the laws of the universe, but the only constant is change.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and fear, or fear of change actually, and the natural state of change that is always happening, they're complete opposites.
Yeah, it's true. everything is consistently transforming. I mean, our bodies, our cells are changing, every second of the day. And still there's a lot of people who don't like change. And for me, it's always been a difficult one to grasp, really, because we are continuously changing. Nothing is ever the same. So when people say, oh, you've changed a lot, for me, it's like, well, yes, that's what happens. This is what we do ever since we are born, or before birth even. But I think that we are also human beings that look for some kind of comfort, some kind of an easy situation to lay back in. And then when big changes come, it may seem as those changes are something that are really hard to move with. And then I see a lot of control, obviously. But I like the fact that we are constantly transforming, because it also means that we can move away from pain, we can move away from fear. And that's the great thing about us as human beings. We do not have to stay in those moments. So when clients say, I have anxiety and it's so chronically that I cannot, almost survive anymore, then I also always say, this is a temporary state. So we know that is part of our human being. And accepting that already makes the situation a little bit lighter at times. Yeah.
And also lowers the fear or the experience of the fear.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you get the diagnosis of a chronic anxiety disease and a doctor tells you to take medication for that, then you accept that is your forever state, as a matter of speech, which is really not true. Fear is really something that transforms really quickly if you can really observe it. And most people try and move away from it, which I understand, because it's not a comfortable situation to be scared all the time. But still, staying with that moment will bring a lot of new insights and will make you grow.
And also fighting with the fear or the anxiety that you experience is a thing that happens very often, that you don't like it, so you try to push it away, or you ignore it, or... especially you do not acknowledge that it's there.
Yeah, most people try and suppress it, obviously, because it's maybe not the nicest experience. But fear only gets bigger when you try and suppress it. And managing or controlling fear is a way to deal with it, but not necessarily the most effective way. Usually when people tell me they are scared, I try and have them stay with that fear, observe it, try and locate it in their bodies so they can actually go to it and look it into the eye. And it often transforms very quickly into something else. It can be a very deep-rooted anger somewhere in the body that was too intense for the body to contain. So, the mental body took over at that stage. And the mental body is the place where fear and anxiety is created. Yeah.
Is it too narrow-minded to see fear as pure mentally created emotion?
It's a good question. I mean, when you're scared, you obviously feel it in the entire body. It usually arises from a mental state, because it tells you that something may happen in the future, which is not there. So it's not really part of the reality yet, but it paralyzes people. So it often gets rooted into the physical body as well. And, when people are really panicking, it often leads to people crying as well. So there are deep emotions linked to it. But what I notice is that when some of my patients who come here, for instance, had a very negative experience at the dentist or at the doctor's, and it was not necessarily the fear itself, but the way that the environment dealt with that fear. One client who had a chronic anxiety told me that she really lost it completely when she went to a doctor's appointment. She was a little bit anxious. The doctor didn't consider it, went through with the procedure that was planned. And when she really panicked, the doctor was trying to push her down or telling her, don't worry, it's not bad. And she needed her space. And she said, if they'd given me the space to deal with that fear, I would have been okay. But they kept controlling me. They kept pushing me down. They kept telling me, it's okay. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. They were telling me the opposite of what I was feeling at the time. And then anxiety can grow really big. It's mostly at those moments that people say, I'm not going to get into the car anymore. I'm going to stay at home and stay inside. Yeah.
And I think this is a beautiful example of not only with fear, but actually with any emotion that is rising and that you are experiencing or somebody else is experiencing. And when other people in the room, in the same place, in the environment are not able to allow you to have the emotion that you're carrying.
To be with that. Yeah. And it can be really scary for some people because they can be reminded of their own pain, of their own feelings. And that's how we all, are from a very young age learning to control emotions. That's when we learn, okay, the other person cannot be with this, so I probably should not be with it either. And it can go really fast. I mean, we're not necessarily living in a society where feelings are welcomed. We are a rational society, which is fine. But when we are learned from a very young age that it's better to suppress those tears, it's better to be strong, then obviously we have a very good body that with 1,000 mechanisms that helps us to do that. Yeah, for sure.
And not only to be strong, but my experience to adapt and make sure that you survive yourself.
And it goes fast because we mirror. As children, we mirror a lot what our parents are doing. So obviously, if you've never seen your father cry, but you feel that he's hurting, because children do feel, then you mimic that behavior. And then you unconsciously create the idea that the best way to deal with sadness is to suppress it. Not so long ago, I had a client here saying, I don't feel anything. And he said, no, you'll see, I don't have any emotions. I've had this forever. I had a very difficult childhood and everything is gone. I think 5 minutes later on, he started crying, but, uncontrollably. And for me, he was really surprised at that. He said, how did you just do that? I said, I did not do anything. I just allowed for a safe space to be with your emotions. So for him, it was very difficult to understand it from a mental point of view, because he was absolutely convinced that he was not an emotional person, that everything was gone, but it was just suppressed. So when I told him, whenever you are in a safe space, you actually feel that somebody is holding that space with you. And it goes on an unconscious level. It goes really fast. And that's the good news. Even if we've suppressed our feelings for 30, 40 years, it only takes a safe space to start feeling again and to let go of the control. Yeah.
Freedom begins where control ends.
That's a very good one. I have to go back to my own childhood then. If I look at the way I was living life when I was a child versus the way I am living now, I would definitely say I was surviving. Yeah, I was controlling everything. I had a very strong brain. I felt I had to protect myself from a lot of things in this world. I tried to memorize everything, and it went on for a really, really long time. I was not able to release the stress in my body. I could only do that through body work. But if I compare to what I'm doing today, my mind is empty most of the times. I can fill it up when I have to. My body feels way more relaxed. So the control is also in the muscles, for instance, in the fascia. So it is much more flexible, I would say. So there's a lot of more movements that I can do with the body. Emotionally, I feel what I feel. Sometimes I feel good, sometimes I feel not so good, but it goes up and down, and it's a natural movement. Yeah, the pain in my throat is gone, the pain in my pelvis is gone, And the pain, I realize now, was my body trying to control emotions that were quite intense. So for me, if somebody would say, you get 5 million euros to go back to your childhood, I would probably say, no, thank you. I have some really good memories, but the way I am living today is way different from the survival mode I was in as a child. And the reason for that is that I was able to let go of control. I was able to experience that if I feel something, I'm not necessarily going to die, because that's what I was thinking when I was younger. When emotions are stuck in the body, it hurts a lot. And you literally think, I'm not going to be able to deal with it. So I have to shut everything down. And I see that with a lot of people today. I really wish it was different. But on the other hand, I think universe has made this really beautiful, they're playing tricks on us, let's call it like that. Saying, if you want to get through life, here's some challenges, deal with it. And by the way, the natural flow is to live everything and to transform it into something that you do experience as enjoyable. Yeah.
Letting go is not a weakness. It's a form of trust.
Yes. There's a lot of things that are being said around letting go. I don't think something really goes away in full. I would rather say something transforms into a new state, but it's always there. However, letting go is such an enjoyable experience because you trust life again. It's like the trust fall. I experienced that once, actually, that I could feel my body fall backwards, but really slowly. I could see every line when I let go of it. And it also starts with yourself, obviously. Because if you feel that you have the capacity to deal with challenging things, if you feel you have the capacity to let your emotions be, you trust that not only yourself, but the world around you will change. But how to get to that trust? That's not always easy, is it not? It often means just accepting the pain that went with specific things that happened in your life. For me, for instance, the theme of betrayal has been a really big one. It's like my heart was always very open. I was a very sensitive child. I was not necessarily controlling things for the first years of my life. But then I was in certain situations that really hurt. So gradually, I was controlling myself. And I believed that I could not be open anymore or I would suffer too much. And it's that kind of trust that you need to develop somewhere along the road. It's to say, hang on, I can deal with that pain. I breathe through it. I stay with it. I ensure that I can live those feelings in a safe space. It may mean that I have to find one because some people don't find that at home. There's a lot of troubled children who don't find a safe space at home, which is it really hurts me when I hear that. But you can always find one. Go into nature and create that moment for yourself where you can just be.
And from there on, actually, what is the safe space? Or maybe more specific, what is safety?
Safety is a very important thing in life. I usually ask my clients to close their eyes and then see if they can go to a space where they were before, where they could be themselves, where they did not have to put on a mask, where they could feel relaxed, have an open mind. But it's not always easy to find one. I have clients who literally after 5 minutes open their eyes again and say, I cannot find a safe space. So then we create one. Usually I create a space in nature with a big tree where people can lean on. And then a lot of things start to happen because nature is not controlling. If you go into the woods, there is no control. There is no survival mode. There is just a living mode. Things grow. things might grow a certain direction. But when the forest has light and water, there is a natural process that arises that we all have inside of us. So usually I ask people to go there. So I create a space which is not physically there at that time. Yeah. And then usually you see that the body starts to relax. Yeah. Also, a good way to find a safe space is to go to that place in your body where it feels warm. Because when it feels warm, energy is flowing through that. And energy flow is our natural process. Yeah. And it may take some time. Some people don't have a strong connection with their body. But usually there is like the finger or the belly, or there's some space where they feel, okay, yeah, there I feel some warmth. If I focus on, the inside of my hand, it's warm. And you start from there. And that is often the place where we start from.
And from there on, I want to build a bridge. We haven't talked about the polyvagal a lot before. So, and for me, when I met you a few years ago, safety was something like, is safety something in my nervous system? Is it not only a place that I can visualize or a sensation that I can experience, but it's also a state in my nervous system?
Yeah, it's the safe space. So the physical location is often the place to get to that relaxed state of the nervous system. Not all people experience that relaxed state. There's a lot of people who are in a consistent state of stress. And we have this beautiful mechanism called the vagus nerve, which is the biggest nerve in our autonomous nervous system, which is basically the engine of our body. And there is a natural state in that vagus nerve, which is called the ventral state. So it's often compared to the belly, where energy flows naturally. And I often teach clients to understand the differences in their states. So the ventral is the relaxed states. That's the safe space where everything flows naturally, when there is eye contact, for instance, where the muscles can relax. And the other states are the sympathetic and parasympathetic state and the dorsal state. So it's going to be too theoretical to explain everything in one podcast, but basically see it as green, orange, red. Yeah. Green is you are at ease. It's safe. I can be myself. I don't have to put on a mask. I feel, I think of what I feel, and I do accordingly. Everything is aligned. That's a very natural and nice state to be in. But there's a lot of people who hardly ever experience that natural state. I've seen that because they are stuck in a sympathetic state, which is the fight or flight mode, which is a very active state, which can be very enjoyable if you're doing a marathon. Yeah, because let's face it, you want to be in that excited state and just be able to run and start that marathon. But if you're in that constantly and you get home from a 10-hour day work day and you arrive home and you are still in that state before you go to bed, it's not necessarily the most enjoyable state. The dorsal state is the red state. So basically being in that stressed state continuously means that your nervous system will take you down again from all that high. So it's a good state in itself, but it's the moment where you say to your phone rings, you look at it and say, okay, leave me alone. I don't want to do this anymore. I've had it. I need to retract. I need to lie down, and now I cannot do anything anymore. It's a great state to be in. If you're in that state continuously because you have been in an overdrive all the time, that's usually where things go wrong. So a natural state is the flow. Yeah, it's okay to be stressed out now and then because, imagine that you see an accident. You have to be in a fighting state because you probably need the energy to be active. But your body has these 3 states or 4 states. So the ventral, sympathetic, parasympathetic, and a dorsal state. So try and understand these states. Do exercises to move through them so that you don't get stuck into one. Because getting stuck into one is definitely not good for the body. That's not the natural flow. Yeah.
And probably from getting stuck in one of those states, fear will rise.
Exactly, because I often see fear as something generated by the ego also, to make sure that we don't always have to grow. So in that sense, I like fear as well, because it's a signal, that it's okay to retract. Just don't stay in it. It's when you really notice that you wake up every day in an anxious state that you probably have to investigate it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And maybe to conclude this episode is, fear is also energy that is just asking to move.
Every emotion is asking to move. That's the essence of emotion. Immovere, it's energy in motion. So it's what I was saying before, it does not have to be something that you have to deal with for life, because that's what most people think. Those essential fears, clients often come in and say, I have this fear for like 15 years now. I probably have to live with it. Not convinced. I've had really essential fears. At some point in my life, I was scared of light. So I would open my eyes, I would see it was morning, and I would be terrified. Yeah, so obviously there's two ways of dealing with that, and that's sometimes the route that is most often searched. It's I go to the doctor and get something to deal with that anxiety. But I prefer to do things in a natural way. I prefer to look that fear into the eye. And then I realized that being scared of light for me meant that there was some part of me that was still scared of living. And I thought, I was there. I thought, I've done so many internal processes. I've done so many things to foster my personal growth. I'm there now. Well, not yet, apparently, because that fear arose not so long ago. And I looked it in the eye because, it was really paralyzing. I remember it. And it was the result of a lot of hormonal changes in my body. Hormonal changes, which lead to emotional processes. So thank you, hormones, for showing me that there were some emotions that I still have to deal with. And my fear was telling me that. And I realized that I did not fully trust life in itself, that I was still scared of things that were happening in our society. And it took me maybe 3 months to get over that, but the fear was gone after that as well. So, yeah.
What could be, or what is a tip for listeners that experience that anxiety? How can they, in a very profound but easy way, start to, or not start, allow that fear and that anxiety to move?
Yeah. I would say embody it. Now, what do I mean with embody your fear? If you feel scared, if you feel paralyzed, don't try and suppress it and say, okay, I need to do something. I need to get out of this now. Try and close your eyes, breathe into that fear, locate it in your body. It could be that your stomach hurts or that your breathing in the chest is impacted by that fear, and try and stay with that for at least 5 minutes. Easily breathe into that fear and see what happens then. Because observing and embodying an emotion helps to already transform it. Yeah. A very good one for me is also grounding exercises, because a lot of fears disappear by the very simple grounding exercises. Easily breathing from your feet to your pelvis and up and down again for, let's say, 5 to 7 minutes a day helps to get a lot of fears, to get them out of the way. And if the fears are very intense, do trauma release. I had a really nice example of that not so long ago in my practice, where, a lady was really scared of driving. And when we got to the root of an accident that happened, not an accident driving, it was another accident that happened. She fell down. When we got through that route, the fear was gone. So, yeah, don't give up. Don't stay with the fear, and don't take medication for the rest of your life. There's different routes to deal with that. Yeah.
There's always an origin. There's always a root, and finding, maybe it's not about searching, allowing yourself to get to the roots and let go of that control to hold it in place.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good signal of the body to wake you up and say, hang on, there's something sitting there. My fear of light at the time is the reason why I am much more confident that the universe is abundant. And I translate that into my life here on Earth. And that's something that I could not do before. So thank you, fear.
Constant change can only come from abundance.
Exactly. I know, but it's something that I embodied in a later time in my life only. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Great. Thank you for joining us on the path of awareness. Pay attention, open up, and remind yourself that awareness is not a destination. It's a way of life. See you in the next episode.